recording button. I've just done so. Okay, guys, sorry about that. Okay, so when I talked about risk aversion, we've got the Asian stocks and Asian markets going really slow today. As of today, I think there are a few countries that are on holiday. Today is a bank holiday or a public holiday, so it's going a little slow on that end. The other thing as well is we have got something that have actually carried on from the nuclear test, the nuclear power test in Korea, and that has sort of affected the buying of Japanese yen as well. So with that, we're looking at something that we're calling it a tug of war between the US dollar and the yen, meaning that both are looking at possibilities to the upside due to various factors, but we need some confirmation that would prove to be a catalyst on the political side. So they may still favor the dollar to the upside stronger than the yen, but then we do still have some buying activities, looking at some buying opportunities for the yen as well. So it does actually matter which combination of pair you're looking at as your trading opportunities. Okay, so that's really important. Now, before going any further, I just want to alert you about NZD USD that was actually just released about, let's say, about an hour ago by a couple of major banks looking at buying opportunities for the NZD. So I just want with that catalyst, with that opportunity that was presented by the banks, then we are we would like to confirm that with patterns. So I want to go straight to NZD USD first, and then secondly on GBP USD, because these poses some buying opportunities both on the NZD USD as well as GBP USD. So I just want the earliest that you can catch the trend would probably be the best thing to do. But please ignore this double line here. I'm not sure why it it just came out like that, but all these three types of moving averages there, the normal one that I apply, the 50, the 100, and the 200 moving averages, okay, the exponential moving average. So let's look at NZD USD because it poses some buying opportunities, as I've mentioned, presented by major banks, and we want to look at that from different angles later on. But let's look at from the perspective of geometric trading, as well as patterns or support resistance, and everything that is more on the technical and charting side of it. Okay, now here at a glance, I'm starting with the 1 hour chart. Okay, we are looking at prices, majority of prices for the New Zealand dollar. It's to the downside, as you can see. Okay, but as presented by banks, we have got some buying opportunity, and that could be sort of confirmed with prices stopping at quite significant or major support area, as you can see here. Okay, now prices for the New Zealand dollar is trading at 7302. So applying the psychological number itself, we would like prices to go above either the 00 psychological level or the 20 to to reassure you with more buying bias going on for the New Zealand dollar versus the dollar. Okay, so here we have got it at a support. That's one of the technical confirmation there. The other one is, looking at pattern itself, it may be a possibility of an upside down sort of pattern like this. Okay, so with it being a support here, it could well be that this upside down cup and handle pattern is missing a handle. So we are looking at a possibility of going upwards, and I have stopped at this area roughly at 73880 area, because this is about 50% the distance between the mouth of the cup and the base of the cup. Okay, and usually that channel up that makes up that handle would travel at least about 50% Fibonacci ratio or level based on the depth of the cup that you can actually see. So this is the second confirmation that we can sort of notice based on patterns. Okay, so here we're looking at NZD USD posing some buying opportunity, but we would like to use the psychological level or psychological numbers as our guide for ideal entry areas. Okay, so it's probably best for us to wait till prices go above the 00 by 10 pips, let's say 7310 onwards, but the 0.7310 area is just too close to the 20, so you might as well let more buying power being filled in before you want to enter, because this is something that has been released just like an hour ago or so. So we want to make sure that on the fundamental side of it, with what's going on in New Zealand itself, it is still driven by the property bubble market. It is still extremely expensive to own property as well. So these are areas that are still going on, and it does take some time before it before the bubble bursts, as they say, or before you have the retreat of investors out of that pool of asset class. Okay, so here we're looking at potential, but let me just clear that up first. Okay, so we can look at other confirmation with other relevant patterns on different time frames, just to look at whether or not whatever that we have heard or received from the banks and other hot tips are actually being confirmed by ourselves as traders. Okay, but here you want to adjust, as I've mentioned, via psychological levels first, and there's a cup pattern without the handle as yet. So if the handle is about to form, then that means it's a channel up, and that does actually confirm a possibility for an upward move. Okay, but if I go back and just look at the shortest time frame, just to look at what exactly is going on here, you could see that there are maybe corrections bound to happen for the time being, because we're looking at more selling sort of pressure, and they're under the 3 moving averages, and that's for the shortest term possible. So still it may need some time. This is what it means before we could see a push to the upside by the New Zealand dollar. Okay, not just yet, so it's probably best for us to wait till it reaches the specific psychological area. Okay, so this is one area to look at. We've looked at the 1 hour chart, we've looked at the 5 minutes chart. Let's just visit the 4 hour. Now the 4 hour chart, as you can see, it is not that clear or crystal clear as yet in terms of the trend for the New Zealand dollar versus the dollar on the 4 hour chart. Okay, this is so because we've got prices in between all 3 lines. They have not traveled under all 3 lines or above all 3 lines. Okay, in this case it's a downward momentum. Okay, the bias is to the downside, as we can see on the medium term, but it's not that clear, also because it's meeting at a significant support area, as you can see. Okay, this support area could turn from previous resistance into a significant support area as well. So this is where we would need to just wait and see until it crosses or passes through relevant psychological level. Okay, this is for the 4 hour chart. So this does actually confirm a little bit of waiting before we see that buying push. Okay, if at all there's a buying push. Now here, this is where it may be a little tricky here, because what I could see on the daily chart, for example, I still see that we have got a potential downward move, and the reason for that is a potential Z-like pattern. I call it a Z-like pattern that may look into more selling biasness, but this is a bullish Z-like pattern here. This is for the long run based on the daily chart. I'm just going through time frames and patterns that I could see, or geometric patterns that I could spot, in order for us to have a better picture in category, in different time frames, in different timings as well. So here I'll just draw for you a potential Z-like pattern, but it's a bullish Z pattern. Okay, we'll start with the AB right there. Now that AB would be equals CD, so there is a potential downward move to that level. This is again, as I've mentioned, on the long term, okay, if at all this is a successful Z-like pattern. Now I'll just confirm a little bit with the Fibonacci, and I'll pull the Fibonacci from this to there to look at where it might be actually sort of arrive at 100. Okay, it's not too bad, but let us just pull the A to B from here. What I'm doing now is to use the Fibonacci ratios to look into the measurement of this particular pattern, which I call the bullish Z-like pattern. Okay, this bullish Z-like pattern could then be converted into a geometric pattern, but I'll just do that in a bit. But what I've done is I've pulled my A to B and just like to look at my C, and the C is actually sort of on the dot at 1.41 extension, Fibonacci extension level, and that's a good sign because it's not hanging in between any Fibonacci level as well. So this could potentially be how do you call that, a potential, it could potentially be a Z-like pattern, okay, a bullish Z-like pattern, but I'll take that all away. And usually if it is at all a sort of successful Z-like pattern, then this downward move from C to D could reach at a 50% at least. Okay, of course we've got option 1, which is AB equals CD for prices to come down to this end, but the other option as well is for it to reach the 50% Fibonacci retracement level of B to C. So that's just right here. Okay, as you can see, this is where it might actually then how do you call that, reverse or bounce back. Now I could take that as my TP area as well as that, but this usually works a little bit better to confirm that this pattern has actually been successful. So even if it comes down all the way here, it wouldn't be the same in length with A to B, but let's say it comes just a little bit more space, room to this area here, and then it starts to bounce back. That would then sort of make it valid or confirm the validity of this bullish Z-like pattern or lazy Z pattern. Okay, so that's your NZD USD. So here we would need to plan and look into the neutral time frame again, okay, which is the 1 hour chart. So definitely there's perhaps some more room to the downside. There may be some room to the downside before it rises, so you may be a little bit early to the party to buy, but it's best to monitor the prices, look into how the prices are traveling based on psychological levels or numbers, as well as significant support resistance area. Okay, now here you could see that you've got all the resistance area here, as you can see. Okay, so it's probably ideal for us to draw some support resistance zone based on these areas here. Okay, so let me just draw one here. Okay, and here, so we've got a bit of a zone going on here. That's probably the wrong way there. It's not there that I want it. I want it to be around here. We've got prices traveling downwards, so you want to be looking at whether or not close to the area where prices are trading at the moment, are there any significant sort of support that you could draw out a support resistance zone. So we have got some support. As you can see, prices, you know, just bounced up all the way right to that peak there. So we want this area here to be a significant zone that could be valid zone. So there you go. We've got a price zone now between 7301 to 7297 area. So what does that mean? That means if at all prices were to bounce off, then it would bounce off this zone, but it needs to be above 7300 area to look at potential upward move. So in this case, it looks like there are more strength for the New Zealand dollar versus the dollar to the downside before it makes that move. So like I've mentioned, we may be a bit too early to the party, but keep an eye on NZD USD on the buy side, okay, before anything else. Now here it has actually crossed under 7297 area, so let's just wait and look at whether or not this, it would actually hold the 7280 level, or would it actually go under the 7280 level? If it does under 7280, then you've got more strength to the downside, and then you might then see possibility of it reaching these zones here before it goes further up. Okay, so yes, still to the downside for NZD USD, guys, before some big moves to the upside. So in terms of timing, still on the sell side as of now, but you would need to look into psychological levels to be on the safe side. Okay, that's your NZD USD, guys. Now let's look at GBP USD. Now same goes here with the GBP USD. I'll just get rid of all these lines that you could see. Okay, now we're on GBP USD on the 1 hour chart. As I've mentioned earlier on, some buying opportunities been stated or posted by major banks to the upside for both NZD USD and GBP NZD. Now, as what I have just done is to confirm with patterns, and indeed there seem to be a bullish sort of Z-like pattern here. Okay, this is how I've actually drawn my Z-like pattern. I'll just confirm in front of you guys to show you how do I pull my Fibonacci from A to B to look at the area that the C has actually landed as well. Okay, and the possibility of prices to stop before it bounce would be the 50% level, which is right there. Okay, and the AB equals CD is right there. All right, I'll just get rid of all these ones here. Okay, so here you go. We have got some upside biasness, on the GBP versus the USD, based on various factors that are driving risk appetite and everything else to the upside for the pound. Okay, so I've marked that zone here based on AB equals CD as well as the 50%, and you can see that zone there has sort of proven to be a significant support area or level, and that is giving some rise to what we are looking at now, GBP versus the dollar. Okay, there's some possibility of prices, and found support right there. Now, if you look at prices, you could see that it's 1.3274, so you would then notice that it's quite close to the 80 side number. Okay, you would need prices to go above the 80 at least by 10 pips, so that's about 1.3290 and above, but that could also be giving us some hints of prices going above this area here, because we have some challenges in these areas here because of the 50, 100 and 200 moving average, as you can see. Okay, indeed there is there are some postings by the banks that I've mentioned, but again we may be a little early to the party, so not just yet. Okay, we want to be on the safe side as well, so we would like prices to go above all these three lines before we take any action to the upside. But at least you're aware that this is basically what may actually format in terms of the formation here is a Z-like pattern. It is indeed a bullish type pattern. Okay, all right, what I will do is, just to make sure that I've drawn it correctly, I'll just get rid of that one there to be a little bit more accurate in that. Give me a second, guys. Okay, there you go. So that looks a little better. I'll just pull that one right down here. 1618. Okay, all right, there you go. So this is the zone that I'm looking at, the potential rise up. It has definitely gone above that level. Let's go on to different time frames for the GBP, guys. Yeah, we'll go on to the 4-hour chart, and as you can see, that's how it looks like here. Now this is one very nice pattern based on geometry as well. As you can see, that big move here, that's your A, B, C and D, right? And that's your B to C move, and look at how nicely that aligns very nicely, and that length is exactly, it's quite similar in length as well. But why I'm showing you that is because that length there, that could easily be your AB CD pattern that you could have traded previously. Okay, because we've got an alignment, we've got symmetry as well, and this is a good sign of an ABCD sort of pattern. Okay, now that ABCD, the other challenge is that we've got an ABCD pattern, but again there may be a W-like pattern here. Okay, so hence the reason of a downward move. But that downward move that you see here, we are still looking at the 4-hour chart, guys. I've marked that as a most recent Z-like pattern here. Okay, so based on the most recent, give me a second, most recent pattern here, based on the Z, we're looking at an upward move. Okay, but let's question that a little bit based on geometry and what we've heard from banks. Okay, banks are looking at, you know, upward move, upward, or buying opportunities for the GBP USD, but we're looking at the 4-hour chart. Now, based on that Z pattern here, I see an upward move. Okay, that upward move, usually if it is a successful Z-like pattern, then we're looking at least 50% move. Okay, so if it goes upwards, oops, sorry, wrong one, 50% of this move here, CD. Okay, so we're looking at a potential of prices moving upwards to the upside to at least this level before it makes a downward move. Why I would say a downward move? Because you have got a big W-like pattern going on, and that W-like pattern usually it would be at least about 50% or 61.8%. You see, it's already touched at 50%, but maybe some room down here. But looking at all these patterns put together, we're looking at an upside move as opposed to a downside at this very moment of time due to the most recent pattern that you can see. Okay, so this may be an upward sort of move to the 334 area. Okay, so that does actually confirm that yes, we are looking at potential to the upside. Okay, but in terms of ideal entry wise, look at the price itself. You've got 1.3278, so even if it's 3280, you'll be looking at ideal entry only above 3290 and above. Okay, not much gap though once you take into consideration your psychological level, but this is what's going on in terms of the pattern. Okay, let's see another thing that we can take a look. As for your GBP USD, just a matter of confirming trends as well. On the daily chart, we're looking at a potential flagpole like pattern going on as well, and this is what I would like to do that. But before that, if you guys have followed me since probably about a couple of weeks ago, that's the Z-like pattern that I have looked at in terms of GBP versus the dollar to the upside. Okay, so still it has got a potential to that area here at 3.7, but again this is to the very long term. That has been signaled to the upside movement when most of the traders have been selling the GBP USD, and now it's still picking up again. So that still holds, but it's just too far away at the moment. But like I've mentioned many times before, try trading in stages. Okay, don't take that a long shot. It's too long a shot. Okay, for that level to be reached at this point of time, because it's 3.783 and we're only at 3.2, so that's for the long sort of term. But we'll take that in stages and we'll look at what's going on at the moment. Okay, so that's on the Z side pattern. But looking at this whole pole area down here, this is the pole and flag pattern. We're still looking at the upward channel as such, but it's not a very nice sort of channel due to the angle that it's trading on. See, it's not a very nice angle, so the angle should be a bit more steeper to the upside. Only then it would be better for me. So I still looked at this GBP USD on the daily chart as a potential Z-like pattern. Okay, but it does look a little bit like a dragon-like pattern here. As you can see, you've got it like that. Okay, right? So you've got it like this, for example. You've got a very, how do you call that, vertical sort of move here to the downside. And this area here is a little bit too long, so you see that's basically how it looks like. But you can always still look at it as a Z-like pattern here, or a flagpole, but it's clearer as a Z-like pattern. Only thing, the C to D is a little bit too elongated. That's it. But again, as I've mentioned, we've got the banks have released that signal of a buy side for GBP USD and NZD USD. It's probably best for us to look into that, monitor it stage by stage, only because we have got the big boys participating, and when big boys are participating, then we've got a bigger volume to handle, we've got more volatility, and perhaps more chances or probability of pips as well for you guys to gain. Okay, but be really wary of psychological levels as well when your ideal entry points as well as your take profit points. Okay, all right, so that's for your GBP USD, guys. Now let's just look into requests at the moment. If you guys have got any sort of pair that you would like us to take a look, but before I go on to your requests, I would like to also look into the Euro versus JPY. Okay, let's look at what's going on with the Euro versus JPY. This is a pattern I've drawn initially based on the 4-hour chart, a W-like pattern. Okay. Now we have got a W-like pattern signaling upward sort of move. Okay. At this moment of time, we sort of looked at how prices have rebounded from that area, and it's giving more biasness to the downside as opposed to the upside for the Euro JPY. Okay, this is where I would like to discuss further on Wednesdays for those who are already trading. When we want to look into troubleshooting, this is how we would deal with it differently. But here on Mondays, we want to discuss on trade ideas. But here, because we've drawn the pattern some time ago, I would like to just keep you aware that as you still have got some higher lows as well. So there may be some possibility to the upside, but again, it's questionable because we've got prices. Prices have actually pierced through the 3 exponential moving averages here. So here itself, if you're trading in stages, you have got that to look out for. There may be a possibility of a ABCD pattern, which will then turn to an M-like pattern here on the Euro JPY 4-hour chart, but I'll just explain that for you. Here, if we're looking at an ABCD, that's where the potential ABCD is. So that's your AB equals CD. Okay, so you've got your A to B corrected itself from B to C right there. Okay, so you've got an ABCD pattern there, looking at potential TP area right down there. Okay, we've got prices under all 3 lines, so that trend-wise have actually looked into more possibility to the downside. All right. Okay, Arabla will go on to USD JPY and USD CAD as well shortly. Give me just about 2 minutes or so. We'll just cover the Euro JPY and I'll get back to you on the USD JPY and USD CAD. I'll just write that down, guys, so I don't forget. And USD CAD. Okay, so let's get back to Euro JPY first. Now, Euro JPY, we have got that big move upwards too. Okay, so before we do that, we've got A, B, C, D. We're forecasting the D point here at 113.40. So what we do then is we pull the B to C. Before that, we would need to look into C. Now the C point on this ABCD basically it has stopped at I would say post at the 78.6 level there. Okay, it's a good level, so we're looking at a potential 1.272 as your projected area for the D. So if you pull your B to C, then you're looking for the 127.2 area. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, oh, we go. All right, so we have got A, B, C, D. All right, and this A, B, C, D would give you two options to the downside: 113.40 to the 113.20 area. Okay, so this is your possibility. Now, as we have done this ABCD, when you look just to your left, you see this big move upwards. Okay, now that gives you a possibility of an M-like pattern. If you attach that together, you've got an M-like pattern. What does an M-like pattern mean? An M pattern is actually a bullish pattern. So what usually happens is if you've got an M pattern like that, okay, right, then once it reaches that D area, then you're looking at possibility of it going up like this. Okay, so that's your zone, that's your reversal zone here. Okay, so this is what we're looking at for the Euro JPY. So a possibility to the downside and then a reversal at this PRZ, or the potential reversal zone area. Okay, so that's your potential reversal zone area right there, marked there. But we need to polish that a little bit more. Okay, so just erase all drawings there. Okay, I think I've got questions. Gatton pattern, Adam. I think you meant the Gartley pattern. Yes, you can say that it's close to the Gartley pattern, yes, or it may be the Gartley pattern too. I just trade it as the M or W pattern, but what I like is not to have too many patterns to remember. I know it's an M-like pattern, and I like the M pattern when, for example, the D area projected is shorter than the X area here, and the C shoulder here, it's lower than the A shoulder. This is all I see. If at all I see the other way around, let's say this shoulder is higher on this side than that one, then I just don't pay too much attention to it as an M or a W. I'll just regard it as an ABCD, and I'll just trade it as an ABCD. Okay, but if I look at a potential of an M as beautiful as this M that you see now, where you've got an X, A, B, C, D with the C lower than the A shoulder, and then the C leg projected to be higher in level compared to the X. Okay, so that's your X, A, B, C, D. Okay, so yes, that's how I actually trade. I just will make that happen. So this is your A, B, X, A, B, C, D. Now you've got an M-like pattern. Now there's another nice thing to do is to look at how high a probability that this M pattern is indeed an M-like pattern or a good M pattern to trade. What you do next is you just go insert indicators, and then you look for the volume indicator. And I usually look for the volume indicator to look for divergence. Divergence is when opposite. Okay, that means you've got prices here and you've got volume here. Now this is what I look at. Now we have got prices going upwards, correct, and then we have got volume as well going upwards. So the volume here was going up while prices go up. Now that's not a divergence, that's convergence. If at all it's a divergence whereby I see that all these bars getting lower, but then the price goes up, then I see an opposite. That would then give me a higher probability of this M-like pattern to actually work. Okay, so this is how I deal with it. Now the way it works is at this point, because I don't see divergence, for example, okay, I don't see divergence because this is my X to A. Now X area is around here to my A area here. That mirrors exactly what's going on, so there's no divergence. Because there are no divergence, I will just trade based on this A, B, C, D, okay, as opposed to really pay attention and apply more rules to trade based on an M or a W. So in this case, I'll just take that away and I'll just regard this as a ABCD for this time. Okay, and I'll just go on to the daily chart and look at whether or not you've got more rebound on either one of the moving averages to give me more signal to the downside. Now here, looking at what's going on at this moment of time, we it looks like there are more how do you call that, more power by the sellers as opposed to the buyers, so that pattern of W may actually just fail. And that could also be because we don't find a divergence at the volume. So if we don't find the divergence between price and the volume indicator, then that may not be a W-like pattern, okay, or a M-like pattern. Let's see. Yeah, it's Gartley, isn't it, Adam? No problems. It's fine. I understood you. That's okay. Okay, so here you go. Now, this is a W-like pattern, but we are looking at the M-like pattern here. Sorry about that. I think we've missed that. Okay, so that's the one that we're talking about. So no divergence, we're just looking into ABCD, the ABCD pattern. Okay, so if we go into the 1 hour chart, you can see that price is clearly under all three lines, so the bias is to the downside for the Euro JPY. Okay, there you go. And if you would like to look into, let's say we're looking into the 4 hour chart for the Euro JPY, and we look into ideal entry point, and all you need to do is to convert that ABCD, let me just clear that first, that ABCD pattern into a geometric pattern like this. Okay, so when you got that cross area here, then you're looking at, okay, then you're looking at a potential to the downside from that point. So indeed prices have actually crossed or passed through that centroid or center point area, and this is where we're actually targeting at the moment. Okay, so if it's best for you to actually look into an ideal take profit area above the psychological level, and that psychological level here, it's close to the 113.50 area, so probably best for you not to wait till prices to take profit at that level. Take profit at least 10 pips before it reaches the 113.60 area. Okay, 113.50 area, so that would give you at 113.60 area. All right, so it's quite crucial or important for us to be familiar with the psychological levels as well. Okay, based on the last two digits of the number. All right, so that's for the Euro JPY, guys. Okay, giving you some idea on the downside for Euro JPY, and that's the area. That's based on the 4 hour chart. If you're looking into the 5 minutes chart, this itself is giving you, at the shortest term, it's giving you more power to the downside as well. And this is what you could see. You could see that the wick of that candle there is just hitting right bang on the 50 moving average, and that's a good sign for it to fall further. So that's happening on the shortest term. So we're looking at some opportunity to the downside to that level, as I've mentioned. Okay, so that's your Euro JPY. Now we'll just, since we're on the Euro JPY, we'll look at another pair that is paired up with the JPY, which is the USD JPY. Before that, some questions. Aussie as well, yes, but we've also got USD JPY, USD CAD to look at, and we'll look at the Aussie versus dollar in a bit. Give me a second, Adam. We'll go into your Aussie in a minute. We'll just take a look at USD JPY and USD CAD first. Let's look at what's going on. Now we have got the USD JPY here. Now, do we still have safe haven participation for the yen? If that's the case, then we're looking at more selling pressure for the USD JPY, meaning a sell for the dollar and more buying on the JPY. Now here itself, based on the 1 hour chart, we're looking at lots of selling activities going on, since we're looking at prices under all three lines. If we zoom out a little bit, we're looking at, yes, definitely more selling pressure. As you can see, you know, the angle as well that is trading on the 1 hour chart is very much to the downside, and you've got 101.96 at the moment. You would need prices to go under the 80.80 side number to look into approaching the 0.70 area to give you more hints to the downside. Okay, so if I pull this one here from the top to the bottom here, and we have got 61.8 right there, we can say that it might actually give you more to the downside to that level there. Okay, if we take that away, we'll just evaluate it from time frame and looking a bit closer to the movement of price here. Okay, let's see what's going on here. We've got, like I've mentioned, we've got an ABCD sort of pattern. If I pull that one all the way down, see that it's meeting, close to meeting the 61.8 level, which is one of my favorite ratio. I like the 61.8 as well as the 78.6, but if I move that peak to the second peak low, the lower peak, the second lower peak, then I don't actually see the C point meeting, really close to either one. It's sort of hanging in the middle. So I'll just try to adjust. I think that area there would be a nicer area as opposed to really to the top. Why did I actually pick that one, that peak there? Because the C sort of, it's more comfortable there, landing at the 61.8. So I'll just take that area as my A to B. Okay, so I've got my USD JPY starting from that peak there all the way down here. Okay, double click that one, take that AB equals CD, do the same here, repeat that process A to B, link up your B to C as well. Okay, all right, there you go. You've got your A, B, C, D pattern. Okay, now I'll just want to, give me a second. So you've got your A, B, C, D. Now, ideal sell, you convert that A, B, C, D into a geometric pattern by combining your A right down to your D. Okay, right? So anywhere under that center area would be ideal selling zone. So indeed, prices have gone under 102.15 and below. So we're looking at selling opportunities to the downside, potentially to this area here. Now, second option, because we pulled your A to B earlier on and you've got your C at the 61.8 area, what we then do is to pull the B to C and look for the 1.618 area as your second potential area to take profit. Okay, so as you can see, these lines between 100.16 and 100.04 are quite close to one another because you have got two options for your D point. Okay, to project where it might actually fall. Now, because you're looking at opportunities to the downside, you would need to look at potential support area as well, just so that it cuts out your risk area. Now, once you look to the left, you probably would notice that you've got support area there. That's not so significant. You've got one there, okay, but this is a significant support area here, right upwards. Okay, so this is an area to look out for here. All right, and that actually coincidentally, is on the dot with that support by the wick there. Now I'll turn that into a support zone. Now that support zone has been quite a significant zone because you've got support right there. You've got longish candles piercing through it as well. That is another hint that it's quite a significant zone that you've drawn, and you've got some more support here. Okay, so this is ideal for us to understand that even though you are prices are right up here at 101.98, it's ideal only to enter if at all it's under the 80 site number and below. And this is a good hint because you've got that zone drawn out now, so it's probably better for us to consider a selling opportunity, a shorting opportunity under this zone area here. Okay, this area here, because we have drawn that area as your significant resistance. So under that zone, then you take profit above this zone. Okay, above 101.16, probably ideally 100.30 will be your ideal TP area considering the psychological levels there, and under 101.75, which is 101.70 would be an ideal area, and take profit there. So this is your area to trade, and hopefully to get something out of it. Okay, all right, let's see. Okay, hi there, Esther. You lost your connection. Can you guys still hear me though? is it lost at your end? You mean your internet connection? Okay. Don't worry for okay. It's all right. I mean, all of the sessions are recorded, and if you've got a live account with us in at Orbex, you'll be sent the once you send me an email at kenny@orbex.com, I'll be able to get the video, the recorded version to be sent to you, so you don't miss anything. Don't worry. Okay, Esther. Brilliant. Okay, so we're looking at more selling opportunities there for the USD JPY, guys, and this is an area there. Okay. No problem, Esther. Thank you. And this is your ABCD. The other thing I would like you guys to notice is if I take that away and we're just left with an ABCD, on the left there is again a potential M-like pattern as well if we take that whole stretch. Okay. Now, could always take that lower, but to consider it whether an M or an ABCD, if I would like to consider it as an M, I would still need to, it's probably best for me to insert the volume indicator and look at whether or not the same process I did earlier on with the other pairs to look at divergence. Okay, divergence. Now, look at this. If I have regarded this as my X to the A point here, and that's my X point, that's my A point, I look at my X here, and I look at my A point around here. I do see a little bit of reduction of volume though here, as opposed to sort of a very clear divergence. But again, it's not that clear because we could still look into an upward move, and it's no clear divergence. I like clear divergence, meaning if at all this is an upward move, then all these gets lesser and lesser and lesser. That means it's a clear divergence. Here it's no clear divergence. It may not even be a divergence, it may be a convergence. So considering that, we have to take that away, okay, and just trade that as an ABCD as opposed to a M pattern or W pattern or whatever pattern that you use your volume indicator to confirm. Okay, so that's your USD versus the JPY. All right, now let's get to the USD CAD at the moment. Now the USD CAD being a commodity currency that is connected with the prices of oil. Oil, we're looking at reduction of prices due to production. That means production has actually increased. A couple of hints about how you've got more drilling rigs reported by Baker Hughes as well. So all these ones sort of adding on to the supply that we already have in the world with oil. Okay, so it's increasing the glut of oil, so that would then decrease price, okay, because of production. You've got demand, you've got supply getting more, and demand's just maintained, so that would then price oil prices down. Now that has correlation with Canadian dollar. So we're looking at weakness of the Canadian dollar, and there are hints of inflation in the States and things like that. So we're expecting the USD to appreciate versus the Canadian dollar. Okay, so that, having that in mind, we then look into the USD CAD and look at whether or not there are patterns that would comply to whatever that we are seeing happening in the world that are impacting the price, impacting Canadian dollar as well as the US dollar. Okay, so now we move on to USD CAD. Okay, I'll just drag that across. Let me clear off the screen first. Okay, there we go. So we're expecting an upward move then for the USD CAD, but here very clearly we have got, let me just clear off more lines. We'll start all over again. So USD CAD, that is, we're looking at USD CAD at the moment. Now, what do we actually see? Here itself, I mean, at a glance, USD CAD on a 1 hour chart, of course, we have got a nice angle that gives us hints of bullishness for the USD versus the CAD. Okay, but here we have got a potential ABCD sort of pattern here, all right, all the way down here. So if that's my A, that's my B, then it may actually equal in length between AB equals CD. So we need to pull AB equals CD and just see what we get first. Okay, that's just at a glance to look at pattern wise. So if I grab that right up there, okay, and look at the potential, I could see if at all this is a successful pattern, then we're looking at A to B, B to C, and then C to D, moving to that area here, and that could be marked at this point here at 1.3201. Now that gives us a hint that there's more room to the upside, close to about 200 over pips to the upside. But should we get excited straight away? No. We would need to confirm and go into different time frames to actually look into why we're looking at this as a high probability trade or not. Okay, let's just focus on the ABCD that we have spotted here as a potential. Okay, it's close to the B point here, so above it would give you more momentum to the upside. Okay, now let's just look at, if I've pulled my A to B, let's look at where C has actually landed. Now the thing about C is that it's in between and in the middle here, so it's not really a nicely drawn out pattern that we can actually see. So let's say we try to look into pulling the pattern, pulling the A to B from different points. Okay, so I'll take that away for now. I'll just have my B to C that I can see. Okay, I'll just leave the B to C point here. I would like to repolish my A to B point. So if I pull my Fibonacci from this low here right up there, do I see that a nicer point for the C to land? And the answer to that is yes, because it landed quite close, or on the dot, or you can say at the 88.6. okay, it's got a nice angle to it, as opposed to pulling that right here. It just, your C just start to float in the middle of 78.6 and 88.6. so we'll take that as your A. Okay, this is something that you can actually do and adjust yourself. Okay, so less rules on that, that's okay. So we'll take that new point of my A to be there instead of further down. So I've got my A to B, B to C. All right, now let's minimize now, and what we do next is then take that AB equals CD. That would bring that level down a little bit. Okay, there you go. So we'll take that up. Okay, we'll take that point now. There you go. So I'll just take the AB equals CD here. Then you've got A to B right there. Okay, so let's say that's 88.6. Now you've got your first level, your TP area for USD CAD. Okay, AB equals CD, and that gives you there, right? So your C is equal to 88.6. So 88.6 would give you an extension possibility of at least 113. So what you do is you pull your B to C and you look for the 113 area, and that gives you that level here, which is reasonably close to the ABCD. Okay, so this is an area that you can target. These are the zone, the area you can target. Okay, but you've got it at 1.3184, so ideally it's too close to the 80 strike number. So if you would like to take profit, it's probably best for you to take profit not on the dot of 3180. It's probably best at least 10 pips below 3180, which would give you an approximate TP, ideal TP level at 1.3170 instead. Okay, so I'll just write that down. So you've got an ideal area at 1.3170, okay, as your ideal take profit area. Okay, there, adjusted using your psychological number. And where would you then enter? I mean, you would enter based on the center point. I mean, once you draw it out, you will get an idea. This is just a suggestion for you, and you can always convert that into a geometric pattern. And once you've done that, that has given you a hint there that these area here would be ideal entry area. But I'm not saying that because it's right on the dot you can then enter your buy here. It's probably best for you to readjust and tweak that based on psychological level. If I was to tweak that to a psychological level, I've got it at 2986. Excuse me. So 10 pips above the 80 psych number will give me at 19 set. So I would then ideally, based on the theory and practice of psychological level, I would then enter at 1.2990 instead. So as you can see, prices have appreciated. There's still some room there before it reaches 3170. That's where the opportunity lies for the USD CAD to the upside. Okay, just to confirm trend wise, we look into 4-hour chart. We could see that you've got lots of ample support or support areas as well as higher lows. Okay, and you've got prices still above the 3 moving averages as well. We've got an angle of which you're looking at it upwards here, especially a nice angle upwards. If you look into your daily chart, what's going on with the daily chart is probably a bit of appreciation in pricing, still above the above all three psychological numbers, all three lines, sorry, exponential moving average lines as well. So this is still a good sign, because since you are right at the 1-hour chart and you're looking with your patterns especially, this may be still a potential. There's some correction going on. If we want to confirm that with the 5 minutes chart, then we are looking at potential downward movement because of the, more recent, based on shortest time frame, we're looking at more power to the downside. So some correction before it rises upwards. Now, if you're looking at 30-minute chart, we've got some weakness at the moment there. We've got some support here. So if at all it's traveling downwards, you need to be aware of some support area here. Perhaps they'll find support at this area instead, and some more support at this area too. So here you go. You could see for the shortest time period, we have got some support area that needs to watch out for. So it may then just correct itself and bounce anytime soon. Okay, so there you go, guys. So for your AB, for your USD CAD, some upward momentum would bring some TP area at the 1.3170 area. Okay, guys. Hope that is clear for your USD Jpy as well as the USD CAD. Now, upon request, we would then travel to the AUD USD, if that would be all right with you guys. I'll travel there now, and we're looking at AUD US dollar. Based on the 1-hour chart. So based on the 1-hour chart, as you can see, we have got tremendous fallout in prices, the Aussie versus the dollar, and you have seen prices have reached this area here. It's right under all three lines. It's got a nice angle to it, a lot of downward pressure and momentum. We just want to know whether or not it's actually weakening that downward momentum, or it's got still room to go. Just at a glance itself, look to your left and look at where prices are trading, and draw a line to your left. And as you can see, you've got support area to look out for. Okay, support area. So be careful with that support area there. Once it crosses downwards, then you've got once it goes beyond that area here, then you've got sort of a free fall even further. But this is the question, whether it would actually pierce through this support area or not for the AUD. Okay, Veronica, no problem. Welcome. It's okay. We'll look into AUD USD now. We're looking into AUD USD now, and we'll go into GBP Jpy in a minute. Okay, no problems. Okay, so let's look into this. GBP dollar, since you've missed it, Veronica, we're looking at an upside potential opportunity for the GBP USD based on what the banks have actually posted as well. So they are long the GBP USD, but USD as a whole is expected to be on the upside. Okay, so we need to look into the GBP JPY in a bit to look at whether or not you've got more power of the pound versus the yen. Okay, let's get back to the AUD versus the USD. Okay, so this is what you need to look into for the AUD versus the dollar. Now, before that, let me see. It's under all three lines, the daily, not just yet. It's a bit confused on the daily here. It's not really knowing which direction it needs to go as yet on the longer term, but based on the hourly as well as the 4-hour chart, it's quite clear that the bears are dominating. It's on the downtrend. If we look into what's happening now, for example, we are looking at correction. Okay, potential correction to the upside, but again, look at how the opening price have actually just got stuck onto the 200 EMA, which is quite a heavily weighted exponential moving average, and it's looking like a downward pressure. So it is feeding that downward momentum at the moment from the shortest term right up to the medium term. So what I would say is you have got more selling opportunity from shortest to the medium, but it may not be forever. It may be something to hike up the price or something like that for the longer term, but we just don't know that yet. Now, from a patterns perspective, let's just look at whether we could look into something interesting with regards to pattern. Let's see, if I just regard this as a potential Z-like pattern, then I would pull it like that and look at some room to the downside at the 50% moving average, sorry, 50% level, and that would give you prices at on the dot of the cycle number of 74.50. So perhaps another 80 to 100 pips potential to the downside for the AUD USD before it makes its rise up. The reason I say that is because we have got quite a nice angle that has been trading to, and we have got loads of higher lows as well. Okay, and this one would then give you more hint that it is trying to pull prices down once it reaches the 74.50 area. Okay, so we don't know just yet, but as of now, a little room to the downside. If I click on the 1-hour chart, let's look at what's going on. Indeed, a 6 o'clock angle to the downside on the AUD USD. We've got price at 75.19, which is 75.20. We can could regard that as a 75.20 area. So it needs to fall under the 20 site number at least by 10 pips. So that would give us at 75.10. So once prices have reached the 75.10 area, then it's got more momentum to the downside. It's got probably more possibility to go lower. Now look at what's going on here with the price at 75.20 on the dot. Okay, look at how much the candle, we need to look at whether there are rejection candle as well, candles that are trying to go up, or a bullish candle and then it just leaves out a wick like this, and this is where it rejects the upside and it's got downside momentum. Okay, now once it's going upwards, let's say, do we actually find any sort of resistant area, significant resistance? Let's go into the 4-hour chart and let's look at all prices going on now. We've got a significant move upwards. Let's say this is a significant support area right there. Okay, that's one support area there, and that support area, it's quite a significant resistance as well, as we can find it there. Let's take that away. I mean, look in the 4-hour chart. Once it's, you see, they've got great support right there, and the same time, we've got resistance there, resistance as well. That's quite significant resistance, and we've got more little resistance and support. So, and we've got some longish candles piercing through there as well. So, as you can see, clear support here, for example, there, okay, and there. So we've got this zone here, quite a significant zone. What we would need to look at is once prices have actually pierced through these lines and starting to give us hint to the downside, only then it's a downward. But at this moment of time, there may be some support going on at the moment. Okay, so be careful with this one. It's a little tricky in the AUD USD here. We could see a potential, support area as well. Perhaps it's doing an ABCD here because you've got it completing the 5 waves here as well, as I can see. That's probably 3, 4, 5, and then ABC. So you've got an ABCD going on here as well. So there may be a potential. If you pull in your A to B, you get your C right on the dot of 88.6. So perhaps a little room to the downside, and that coincidentally meets the 200 moving average as well. So there you go. You're looking at potential support once it goes downwards to the upside, if at all it passes through and comes under all these 3 green lines. That also shows that it's under the all 3 moving average as well. Only then would it give you more hint to the downside. At this moment of time, watch out for some bullish momentum for the AUD versus the USD. But until, we've got to wait and see at this moment of time, only because we're looking at a bit of a confused situation as well, because on a daily chart, for example, we've got candles in between all 3 lines. That's not a good sign usually. It's uncertainty. Okay, on the 4-hour chart, we got it clear on the downside. On the 1-hour chart as well, we're quite clear to the downside, but perhaps some support coming through with not much room to the downside, so look out to the upside for now. Okay, all right, that's for your AUD/USD. All right, guys, I think that's all I've got for you guys, but before that, perhaps one more pair if anyone would like to look into before we close the session. All right, there we go. Yes, sorry about that, Veronica. I've not forgotten. Okay, let's go on to the Gbp Jpy. Everything clear, I guess, on the AUD USD, guys, yeah? So we'll just move into the Gbp Jpy. Gbp NZD right there. I'll just Gbp Jpy on the 1-hour chart. And okay, let's see what's going on. It looks to me like the downward sort of move, it's kind of strong compared to JPY, but GBP USD is expected to be on the upside. The reason why I say it's strong, it's because we've got the ADX line. You see this blue line is above the 25 level, and we just need to look at the current trend. At the moment on the downside is strong, but there may be some downward momentum expected for the GBP JPY after the correction here, because if I pull that move downwards, I have got it very close to the 38.2. That is a possibility for it to find this level here as a resistance, okay, for the current upside move. But let's look into the 5-minute chart and look at what's going on. As you can see, it's finding a resistance there on the 5-minute chart itself on the 200 moving average, and you've got all these candles thinking and not going upwards so much. So that is a bit of a sign that it might find resistance there and travel downwards. And it's, on the 5-minute chart, when I pull that right to there, that could easily be my ABCD, meaning that this is a hint that it's trying to look at reasons to just bounce downwards, okay, to come downwards. So let's say we're looking into a potential ABCD type pattern. then you're looking at it, you know, from that angle here and then downwards. Okay, but I would like to draw the ABCD based on the 5-minute chart. Okay, just to give you a bit of a idea on where you could ideally find an you know, a level to enter safely. Okay, so for a sell. Okay, so all you need to do is cross out that. Okay, and as you can see, it's still a little far off from a safe area to sell from, which is 135.40 would be a better area to look into selling if at all prices go under that green line there. Okay, now we go into the 1-hour chart. You can see that that's a small part we did for the from the 5-minute chart. Now this gives you correction and more movement downwards. As you can see, prices move downwards and very little correction up, downwards, very little correction up, and then this whole move has got some correction there, but again we've got more power to the downside, as I can see, because we've got price coming down and the corrections are quite small. Okay, not that significant, so that's giving you momentum to the downside. So if I pull my Fibonacci from this high area right down and I look at this area, it's at the 50%, but what if I change that to this area here? I got it at 61.8, so I'll choose that as my A, B, C, D potentially. Okay, so I move that AB equals CD area, and I have got this area as far as this area based on the 1-hour chart. If I look at to the ABCD, so the ABCD on a bigger scale for the from the 1-hour chart would be this there. Okay, that area that you see that was based on the 5-minute chart, so that's the shortest term TP area. Okay, that's your shortest term sell entry area, 135.40. So in other words, in summary, you would need prices to come down a little bit and come at the 135.40 area to give you an ideal selling opportunity. Okay, so here, all right, based on the 1-hour chart, if I crisscross the 1-hour chart itself, okay, okay, then you've got that area here. Okay, that cross, its prices are already under that this center point, which is a good sign, and it's under the center point of the 5 minutes as well. So selling would be a better or ideal opportunity to look at, okay, as opposed to a buy, due to how prices are actually moving at the moment as well. Okay, this is based on, that's based on the 1-hour chart. As you can see on the daily chart, you've got more strength to the downside as well. Okay, so that's GBP versus JPY. So it's quite different from GBP versus the dollar. GBP versus the dollar, it's looking at the upside sort of potential, but GBP versus JPY is looking more to the downside sort of potential. Perhaps we would need to find out more reasons on the fundamental grounds, and maybe it's got, you know, more weakness overall on the GBP versus the safe haven entry of yen as well. Okay, a lot of yen buying going on at the moment still, so that could be a reason, but this is ideally what's going on at the moment based on the charts and the patterns. Okay, all right, and just so not to forget in GBP JPY as well, even on the 1-hour chart, we're looking at the strength of trend to the downside because it's above 25. Okay, and that's roughly at 43, so that's quite strong, okay, in terms of the trend to the downside for the GBP JPY. Okay guys, so I think hope that is clear for you guys, and I think it's best if I wrap up this session by saying a big thank you to you guys for attending today's session. Okay, Veronica, I hope that's clear for you on the GBP JPY. Brilliant, thank you. All the very best for that. And yes, we've got lots of opportunities, a lot of things to discuss. I mean, I think you guys are also aware of the live stream happening on Fridays, okay? And Friday's session, I will be sharing with you guys on big bubbles about to happen, trends, just to questionable trends that are about to happen, and big movement expectations and things like that. And I would like to brief you on Friday. So that is happening every Friday at 3 o'clock Cyprus time, which is 12 o'clock GMT. So yes, so see you on Friday as well, and also on Wednesday, day after tomorrow, for the live account holders. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, and have a good evening. And we'll see you again on Wednesday. Take care. Bye bye. Yeah, not the computer. It's the program itself. I don't know why. The program is a problem.